Hello everyone! Today we're off to Chinatown in our never-ending quest to find the best dim sum. Join us as we review one of the most iconic, beautiful, and popular dim sum restaurants in Las Vegas. Dim sum means to touch the heart. Yum cha is the experience of sharing dim sum and tea in an intimate setting with loved ones. Today's destination is different than most dim sum houses here in Vegas. It's beautifully decorated, and while it gets very busy, it manages to maintain a serene, almost magical atmosphere. This place is much more laid back than the usual. Eating here is a true delight. Rather than the usual feeding frenzy vibe, where one can feel like a goldfish encircled by hungry piranhas, the women manning the carts are relaxed, and there are English-speaking hostesses roaming about, happy to answer your questions or to make sure to get you anything you like but don't see on the carts. Many of you told us you wanted to see us come here because it's your favorite place for dim sum. Well, we listened. We're here today at Ping Pang Pong at the Gold Coast Casino. We started the journey today with a wonderful chrysanthemum tea, only $1 per person. I love the palm, or as they call it here, rock sugar. It's similar to rock candy and goes really well in this tea. Palm sugar is interesting in that it's made entirely from palm tree sap. In my youth, I would have devoured this entire ramekin. I'm obsessed with this mustard. It's not your ordinary Chinese mustard. It's very spicy and packs a real punch. We ended up putting it on everything we ordered, but do be careful as it's very strong and can overpower some of the delicate nuances of many of the dim sum dishes. Rice dough dumplings, or as we call them, dim sum footballs, were one of the first dim sum I ever tried as a kid, and it's still one of my favorites. These are up there with the best I've ever had. The dough is glutinous, light, and crispy at the same time. It's amazing that they can achieve all three of these characteristics at once. Makes me think someone may have sold their soul to the devil. If so, I appreciate their sacrifice. The filling is a spicy char siu flavored ground pork. These are so good dipped in the Chinese mustard, and of course, my special blended sauce. If you haven't seen me make it, it's really simple, and all the components are on each table. Just mix a little chili oil, vinegar, and soy sauce. Voila, you have the perfect sauce for dipping. We both agreed that these rice dough dumplings are a must-try. They were spectacular, and I think you'll love them as much as we did. Turnip cakes are one of my favorites at dim sum. These turnip cakes, a little too soft in texture. They could have been crispier for my liking, but the flavor was good. Maybe a little too much shrimp flavor as well. You can see how these fall apart. I prefer them to be filled with little Chinese sausage bits and less fishy, but all in all, I did still enjoy them. I'm not sure I'd order them again. There's so many other standout dishes here that I'd rather eat. However, dipped into this mustard, they're much better. This mustard is magical, makes everything taste good. I apologize before I begin, but you're going to hear me using the term favorite a lot in this video, since we love so many things here. But these were some of the best char siu pork buns I've ever eaten. Wow, would you look at that? The bun is so light, it was practically non-existent. A delicious vessel, created to just encase the perfectly seasoned char siu pork. The pork is so sweet and well seasoned with Chinese 5-spice and molasses. Oh my god, it's just tremendous with the mustard. I can't wait to try the barbecue pork on its own here. The dim sum's outstanding, and so many dishes will probably make our best dim sum list we're working on right now. As you can see, they don't skimp on the filling. They're just bursting with char siu pork. These sesame shrimp rolls are a special order. You'll no longer see them on the dim sum carts, but they're happy to make them for you. The shrimp filling is different than the one used for the shrimp balls. It has very little binder, just large prawns cut into big pieces and rolled in wonton skins, fried, and then rolled in toasted sesame seeds. You'll love these if you're a shrimp lover, and also if you're a fan of honey walnut shrimp, since they use the same dipping sauce. The filling is so moist and juicy, and the shrimp are some of the freshest you'll ever taste. We devoured all three so quickly and would have ordered more if there weren't so many other great things rolling past us on the carts. We said we couldn't wait to have just the char siu pork, and here it is. All I can say is wow, wow, and more wow. This is amazing. They must go through a ton of it because it's so fresh. No gamey pork flavor whatsoever. It's tender with a nice bark on the outside. The color is a gorgeous deep burgundy. It's sweet, but not too sweet, and the Chinese 5-spice gives it just a magnificent flavor. I can taste the other elements that go into this as well. Hoisin sauce, honey, white pepper, garlic. This is an explosion of flavor in your mouth. I love the sauce they give you for it as well. It's a sweet and spicy sauce. We also asked for hoisin sauce, and of course, the mustard did it justice as well. I think we're going to have to come back for some barbecue here and also try the Peking duck. Anyway, this is a must-try dim sum item. We devoured it in record time. I'm a huge fan of calamari. We go way back. And I read many reviews saying this was one of the best calamari ever, so when it rolled past, I had to get it. The plate was hotter than the face of the sun, but the calamari was ice cold, and so I asked one of the guys from the kitchen if he could warm it up. He seemed a little upset, and when he came back with it, he had obviously just tossed it in the microwave for a few moments, and it had become rubbery and deflated. It was almost inedible, and there was a pool of grease at the bottom of the plate. Luckily, I took a few bites when it arrived at our table before sending it back. It was pretty inconsistent. Some of it was very crispy, however most of it was like rubber. As you can see, this piece looks kind of like an ear, and that's about what I thought I was chewing as I tried to eat it. Not that I know what an ear tastes like, but that's the thought this dish evoked. You can see how crispy and luscious this little tentacle is. However, it's barely room temperature. Maybe they make the dish well, but not this time, and I would not consider ordering it again. This is one of the standout dishes of the day, the pork and vegetable bao. The dough is not overpowering, it's almost transparently light, and just a little glutinous on the inside, but the exterior is nice and crispy where it's been fried. The filling is very moist, almost to the point of being wet. It's filled full of pork and minced Chinese veggies that have been stir-fried together. You can taste the love that goes into these. They have a very mild sesame flavor. Garlic and white pepper bring these to the next level. And of course, the mustard makes them outrageously good. I'd be happy with just eating a bunch of these and nothing else. They're that good. You know that awkward moment when you get asked to a friend's, and they've slaved all day to make something, but it comes out looking kind of wonky. Well, that's sort of how we felt when these deep-fried shrimp balls were handed off. They looked a bit clumsy and misshapen, but trust me, they taste way better than they look. They're perfectly executed shrimp balls in the flavor department. Simplicity at its best. Just coarsely ground shrimp on the interior, and then dipped into panko on the outside and lightly fried. The shrimp is chopped, not ground into a fine paste as it is with most shrimp balls, just processed enough to hold its shape. The large, toothsome pieces of shrimp are still recognizable as shrimp. These are shrimp balls with integrity. Here I go again, but they're some of the best shrimp balls I've ever tasted. I think what makes them so unique is this sauce. It may appear to be just your ordinary Chinese mayo, but it's the same sauce used to cover honey walnut shrimp. I make these shrimp balls all the time at home, and I'm stealing this idea of using the honey walnut shrimp sauce for my next dinner party. It's simply mayo, sweetened condensed milk, and honey. It turns these little shrimp balls into an addicting renovated honey walnut shrimp. Trust me, you have to order these, and maybe ask for some extra sauce on the side. I have mixed feelings about this bao. While the taste was extraordinary, the texture of the dough was a little wet. It may have accidentally gotten wet in the steamer. However, the pork filling is probably as good as any I've ever tasted. Again, the char siu pork here is just the best. So these buns, truly wonderful. As you can see, the dough is a bit damp. Would I order them again? Yes, in a heartbeat. I know what it's like being a chef and serving things in mass quantities. Sometimes the quality gets sacrificed. The taste was a 10 out of 10. One other thing to keep in mind, unlike so many other places, they make everything here from scratch, and so I can overlook a small problem. They deserve all the credit in the world to remain a do-it-yourself restaurant. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, dipped into the mustard, they were phenomenal. Scallion and fried breadstick rice noodle roll. We decided these rolls were the turducken of dim sum. I can only guess how they're made. The inside is the quintessential shrimp mixture they use in most shrimp dim sum dishes, but in this case, it's used like a stuffing. The Chinese donut has been hollowed out and is merely a thin shell that encases the shrimp, but it adds a strange yet pleasing texture to the roll. The exterior is the crepe-like rice pancake that holds the creation together. The scallions and chives on the outside of this wrap are not just a garnish. they give this dish an additional flavor boost. The dipping sauce is fantastic. It's a combination of peanut satay with hoisin plopped right smack dab in the middle. I could drink this sauce, it's so good. Again, the sauces here are to die for. As a chef, as I've always said, it's all about the sauce. We have a friend who owns a hip and trendy restaurant here in town, and he's obsessed with these. He told us when he goes to Thailand or Hong Kong, he immediately heads to the streets where the scent of lamb and cumin fill the air to find lamb skewers. These are one of the most popular street foods in Asia right now. Spiced with cumin and coriander, they're somewhat of an acquired taste. If you love cumin, these are the skewers for you. If you hate cumin, then they're a slap in the face with a cumin-encrusted glove, and I'd stay away from them. They're a chef's special, and they're no longer on the carts, but if you ask, they'll make them for you. I myself am not a huge fan of cumin, but I would have to say that the lamb itself is very good quality, and the curry-like flavor of them is very satisfying. The cumin, however, gets to be a little overwhelming for me, and after one bite, I've had enough. You asked me, I could write a book about these. Decadent, sweet, custardy, lava-filled brioche, piping hot and dripping with ooey gooey creme anglaise like filling made from rich egg yolks. Just be careful when you peel off the paper on the bottom, as the outer layer is easily breached, allowing hot lava to leak all over your hands, arms, clothes, and every other place you don't want it to go. This is another item that may end up being on the best of the best list. The brioche bun they're encased in is so pillowy soft, yet has a wonderfully crusty top. Each bite results in a rain of crumbs all over the table. It makes a glorious mess. Be careful when you order them. They look exactly like the no-filling version, so it's easy to get the wrong dish. Their coconut buns are fantastic. Brioche bread filled with both creamy and shredded coconut filling that's reminiscent of a Chinese Mounds bar, but without the chocolate. We always have to get these at dim sum. On the top are black sesame seeds. They're served hot and fresh and melt in your mouth. Other dim sum places we visited have much less creamy filling than these. If you're a coconut lover, these perfectly hit the spot. Looks like we could have another best of contender. We both love these shrimp and chive dumplings. Look at the brown exterior, so nice and crispy. The skin's a glutinous wrapper that has just the right amount of chew to it. Inside is the most velvet-like textured shrimp and garlic chive mixture you've ever tasted. Just the right amount of salt and garlic. So perfectly balanced, you can't even guess what's in it. These are such a treat. They're the taste of my childhood in dim sum with my mother. They don't need to be dipped into anything. The taste stands up on its own. Although the sauces here are amazing, probably the best of any dim sum, and they encourage you to have as much as you like, we did end up dipping a few of our chive dumplings. Wonderful. These Shiu Mai are a work of art and taste just as good as they look. I'm a huge fan of beautiful food, and these are gorgeous, topped with fish roe that glistens. On the inside you'll find ground pork and shrimp with garlic, chives, sesame oil, and prawns. The exterior is a paper-thin wonton. They make all the pastry in this beautiful kitchen. You can see them painstakingly working away, making everything you're eating as you sit in the comfort of your table. These have just a little chew to them. They're the way Shiu Mai should be, round little glutinous balls ready to dip into the sauce of your choice and enjoy. Well, I can't help but rave about them, and you will too. This ginger egg white pudding is a very unique dish, and a little hard to describe. Sort of a custard with small tofu chunks and fresh ginger and honey. Encased in pastry crust, or as the French call it, en croûte. Crack open the top, and you reveal a creamy warm liquid custard on the inside that, even though it's referred to as a pudding, has more the texture of a soup. There's little chunks of ginger and solid, soft homemade tofu. It's almost a somewhat savory delight. Just ever so slightly sweet, enough to tell your palate that you're eating a dessert. It was delicious. This is such a creative dish, prepared by a master chef who obviously loves food. These are always one of my favorites. They remind me of a coral grown on a foreign planet, or maybe the spires of a Gothic cathedral. These are really easy to screw up, and when they're bad, they're just plain horrible. These, however, were great. They taste like fresh fried potato chips on the outside, with very little doughy taro mash on the inside. Not at all gluggy or stodgy. I love the ground pork and oniony, garlicky paste on the inside. I highly recommend them to anyone if you're thinking of coming here. They're not to be missed if you're a taro lover as I am. Okay, these seafood dumplings. Possibly our favorite dish of the day. Not at all fishy, just uber fresh. I was going to hold out for my longtime love, hargao, but I couldn't resist trying these, and boy am I glad I did. They're sensational. The outside's a translucent, almost silver shimmering colored skin as it is with hargao. However, I feel now that these trump hargao. I love the ground seafood and shrimp mixture. It's so nicely flavored with garlic, chives, and maybe a little pork char siu and carrots. Side note, if you don't eat pork, you may not find many things at dim sum, since pork is used as a binding agent in almost everything. We both agree that these were something we want all of you to try, and that you won't be disappointed. As many of you may know by now, we refer to lotus leaf sticky rice as little anvils. They're usually the last thing you eat at dim sum because they're so heavy they'll wreck your appetite. These are not the ordinary lotus sticky rice wraps you find at other dim sum restaurants. They're very well seasoned and have huge chunks of Chinese char siu sausage and ground seasoned pork in them, and little strange pops of some sort of tofu balls with a liquid center. I thoroughly enjoyed them. Definitely a fan. Back in the day, tendon was a very cheap cut of meat. In fact, most butchers would throw it away, so if you asked for it, they'd give it to you for free. Once more and more chefs started to cook with it, though, tendon became very popular, and the more things grow in popularity, the more expensive they become. Now, tendon can be more expensive than the price of many higher-end cuts of beef. In my opinion, the tendon here is the belle of the ball. I heard mixed reviews of the tendon, but I for one loved it. People complained that the rice noodles underneath are a disappointment and were put in as a cheap filler. I would have loved it to be all tendon, served on its own and not paired with noodles. But together, it made a very cohesive dish. It was, however, a little under-seasoned, but it only took a dash of soy sauce to resurrect this dish from ordinary to extraordinary. As you've probably heard me say if you've watched other of our videos, tendon is one of the healthiest things you can eat at dim sum. It's pure collagen and the secret to many Asian women's beautiful skin. I love the rolled up homemade noodles with it. To me, it's a complete dish and almost reminds me of a hot pot. And don't forget my advice, you need to add a touch of soy sauce to this dish or it's just a little bland. As we noted earlier, you have to be careful when ordering the pineapple buns. And, well, we learned the hard way. We were expecting these to be filled with custard, but they were just plain brioche bread with a sweet icing baked into the top. It reminded me a little of a Mexican concha or fresh homemade brioche. So how can that not be good? Well, they were quite addicting. I could eat a whole tray of them with a cup of coffee or a nice hot pot of tea. Look how light and full of air pockets they are. I really love these. And so our mistake when ordering had a nice silver lining. This is beautiful bread. Finally, here's a little helpful tip. While they look very much alike, the lava-filled version of these are wrapped in paper, while these are not. So make sure to look for the paper if you want the lava version. Thanks to all our viewers for recommending Ping Pang Pong. It was every bit as good as you said it was. It's probably the most beautiful and inviting atmosphere to hang out in anywhere in Vegas for dim sum. And we may have just found our new favorite dim sum spot. I love reading Yelps. I study them just as my father did the Wall Street Journal. And I'd have to agree with the Yelper from Hong Kong, who told his children that anything you find here will be just as authentic as you would find in Hong Kong. With so many great restaurants to choose from in Vegas, it's hard to decide where to go. We hope this review has been helpful and you'll give Ping Pang Pong a try. It's hard to imagine how anyone could be disappointed. And we noticed they also serve non-dim sum dishes, so we'll be back soon to review these plates as well. If they're anywhere near as good as the dim sum, it's going to be a wonderful experience. I know we're all guilty of watching videos on YouTube and not subscribing. As a reminder, it's free to subscribe, and it really helps us bring you more videos. So please like, subscribe, share, comment, and hit the notifications bell. It means a lot to us. Until we eat again, bon appetit.